to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another football video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 quarterbacks going into the 2020 season who I think are most likely to potentially break out. Now, the last 2 years, we've seen some incredible things in terms of quarterbacks with unexpected seasons. Lamar Jackson last year, nobody would have thought would have had an MVP season. Of course, he had a strong year the year before, but I don't think anybody saw him going into this past season and winning an MVP trophy. The year before, it was Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes absolutely had a lot of talent, but I don't think anybody thought he'd have 50 touchdowns in his first season in the NFL. Of course, he sat out, his entire rookie year outside of the last game. This year, there's a number of quarterbacks who I could see possibly surprising people and having a MVP-like season. I'm not saying that any of them are going to do it, and I don't think any of them will, probably match the numbers of either Lamar Jackson or Pat Mahomes over the last 2 years. But I think all 5 of these quarterbacks are capable, given their situation and their talent, to possibly surprise some people and maybe be in the top 4 or 5 of the MVP race if things are to break right. And one of them, of course, is the jersey that I'm wearing. But we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about the 5 most likely quarterbacks that I could see exceeding expectations and breaking onto the scene this year in the NFL. One guy I wanted to mention, honorable mention, Sam Darnold. I do like that the Jets improved that offensive line, but didn't quite crack my list. We're going to start at number 5, and that is the rookie quarterback last year out of Missouri going into his second season, Drew Lock. Drew Lock fell all the way down to the second round where the Denver Broncos took him. I remember the New York Giants were one of the teams that were interested in potentially drafting Drew Lock. Was thought to have a big arm. I remember at the Combine, he really displayed it, but didn't get to play much. He only played 5 starts last year with the Denver Broncos, but in those 5 starts, they went 4-1. They only went 7-9 throughout, the course of the season. So when Drew Lock did not start, they were 3-8. They went 4-1 in his 5 starts when he got an opportunity to play with a 64% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. In addition to that, the Denver Broncos went out there and equipped him with some weapons. They also improved that offensive line, but they got arguably the best wide receiver in this year's draft class with Jerry Jeudy. And with the thin air there in Denver, look for Drew Lock to possibly have a big season and maybe gets his name up there as one of the top 10 or 12 quarterbacks in the sport. Is he the most likely guy in this list? No, but he definitely has the weapons now in Denver to really progress in year 2. The next guy we're going to talk about is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, of course, the number 1 overall pick last year. A very exciting pro, a dual-threat quarterback. Won Rookie of the Year last year. A lot of people would have debated whether or not he was worthy of that. I personally thought Jacobs the running back, and you certainly could have argued that Daniel Jones had a stronger rookie year. But Kyler Murray, nonetheless, a very talented quarterback and another guy that got equipped with more weapons. Of course, the Arizona Cardinals ripped off the Houston Texans, and they brought in arguably the best wide receiver in the sport to pair with Kyler Murray, with DeAndre Hopkins. He plays in a system-friendly offense to his skill set with Cliff Kingsbury, an offensive mind, and it should only lend to good statistics for Kyler Murray. Could very well break onto the scene next year. Last year, he had 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He also added over 500 yards on the ground with 4 rushing touchdowns. The dual-threat quarterback in the air raid offense. Look for him to really have a strong year for the Arizona Cardinals and could very well be the guy that breaks onto the scene. I think a lot of people may have him ranked higher than me. I think a lot of people look for Murray as a sleeper MVP candidate. I'm not quite buying into that, but I will say he definitely has the talent and ability, and he plays in the type of system that I could see him putting up big numbers this year for the Arizona Cardinals. The next guy we're going to talk about, the third most likely, in my opinion, to really break onto the scene this year and have a great sophomore season and, maybe surprise some people with the New York Giants if, in fact, he could reach the heights of a guy like Carson Wentz in his second year or someone like that. The New York Giants, of course, improved the offensive line, which should go a long way to helping Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, now, some of the challenges, he's obviously learning a new playbook, something that none of these other quarterbacks outside of Baker Mayfield will have to learn this season from one year to the next. So that's something that Daniel Jones certainly will have going against him, having to learn the new Jason Garrett offense. But you go back to last year, the Giants had a ton of injuries. Saquon Barkley was not himself for more than half the year. Daniel Jones' his best weapon. They improved the offensive line. I think Garrett will bring an offense suitable to that of Daniel Jones. Look for Darius Slayton to break onto the scene. Doesn't have as good of weapons as some of these other quarterbacks, but Daniel Jones last year displayed the talent, in my opinion, to really show room for growth this year. He had 3 games last year in which he threw for over 4 touchdowns. I think that's a rookie record. Was only one of 4 quarterbacks since the merger to have 5 touchdowns thrown in one game. The other 3 still play today, that being Jameis Winston, Matt Stafford, and Deshaun Watson. He had a fantastic rookie year, a lot to build off of, needs to work on the pocket awareness, something that is common for a rookie quarterback. I think he had 18 fumbles. He lost 12, which was the 5th most fumbles in the history of football in only 12 starts, which is something you got to consider also when you're looking at his numbers. He had 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions in only 12 starts. Had he had 4 more starts, Daniel Jones probably would have broken the rookie touchdown record, which is owned by the next man on our list, that being the former number 1 pick from the year before, Baker Mayfield. And Mayfield last year had an incredibly disappointing season. So why is he number 2 on my list? Well, 1, he's got more experience than the previous guys we've mentioned. I think the 2 years of experience going into year 3 should help him. They make a coaching change. Maybe that spices up the offense. He's got more weapons than you could ever need. With Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, they bring in Hooper, the tight end. He's got a ton of weapons. Chubb in the backfield. But the most important thing that I think will add to Baker Mayfield in year 3 and why I could see him having a big bounce-back season, I'm not saying I'm predicting this, but it's certainly possible, is the improvement in the offensive line. They went out there and brought in the best offensive lineman on the market, Conklin. They also used their first-round pick to take Jedrick Wills, and that should catapult Baker Mayfield and this offense into becoming a much more potent offense in year 3. His rookie season, he bursted onto the scene, set the touchdown record for a rookie quarterback with 27. Last year, he regressed significantly with the addition of Odell Beckham, but of course, they trade Kevin Zeitler. The offensive line definitely suffered in large part due to that. His completion percentage was below 60%. He had 22 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. But one thing I'll say about Baker Mayfield, if you go back and look at his numbers, the second half of the year, he was much better. He only had 22 touchdowns thrown the entire year. 15 came in the second half of the season over his last 8 games. He only had 7 touchdowns in his first 8 starts. So Mayfield definitely bounced back over the second half of the season, and it may catapult him into a strong third full season for the Cleveland Browns. So I could see him bursting onto the scene. But the most likely guy that may surprise a lot of people, in my opinion, that could burst onto the scene this year and is my pick for the breakout quarterback this year is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, of course, struggled in the playoffs. People have that sour taste in their mouth. But what they will forget about, even though Josh Allen didn't have the most gaudy stats, and he still has to work on that accuracy. You look at the completion percentage, 58.8%. His rookie year was 52.8%. I mean, that's really bad. Career 56.3% for his career. He had 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He is a dual-threat quarterback. I think he had 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. 3,089 yards, but if you look at his numbers, he definitely progressed over the course of the season. His last 11 starts last year, he only threw 2 interceptions. In his first 5 starts, he threw 7. Josh Allen, of course, the offensive line, they definitely improved last year. They're going to now have another year together with each other in Buffalo. That should only get better. They bring in Stephon Diggs to that already rebuilt wide receiving core from the year before with Cole Beasley and the like. So, and they had a very good running back in Moss in the draft. Josh Allen, to me, had a really strong second half last year. He's got a better, more potent offense this year, and he's going to have a strong defense that should set him up for scoring opportunities. I think Josh Allen takes a huge step forward this year and could be a sleeper to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. That's my prediction for some breakout quarterbacks or potential breakout quarterbacks in the 2020 regular season in the NFL. I think all 5 of these guys are more than capable, and we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But I wanted to get a quick video giving my thoughts on all 5 of them. So there you have it. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.